stories, whether from LA or Tuscaloosa, you could share.
Yeah, it was good to see him in there. This was our second SEC meeting, so we had one in Birmingham that he was at. But good to see him in there. We got a lot of stories, so most of them I'm probably not able to share. But no, we had a great time together. I mean, we were 24 and 25 when we got to USC together, and um, grew up with Coach Carroll together, and really kind of crazy parallels of stories, obviously with head coach of SC, but to be the coordinators for Pete Carroll and Nick Saban, both of us, really just amazing opportunities and great friendship.
I know off the field, y'all have a lot of bonds, but on the field, y'all's offense has some similarities, but it has some real divergences as well. Do you think that's kind of an interesting part of that story between y'all two? That you kind of come from a Browsian tree, and he goes from just a more pro ideology.
Yeah, I think we both, evolve in the way that we coach and the way that our offensive systems are. I've probably branched further away, where he would look a little more traditional like we used to, and that really came with the Baylor influence and going to FAU with Kendall, and then having Lebby with us at Ole Miss. So um, we really have kind of moved away that way from styles and tempo of play.
You famously used to sit next to Mike Leach at these meetings and some of the ones in Birmingham. Obviously, your relationship with Saban. What sort of vacuum, or was there a vacuum? Did you kind of notice, Nick not being here today?
Yeah, I miss Coach Leach, and he was awesome to be around, and really had been at Pac-12, probably Pac-10 all the way back then, meetings with him um, as well. And then, yeah, it was very strange not having Coach Saban. I was actually in these meetings in whatever that would have been '08, 08, '09, at Tennessee with Coach Saban. And Coach Sankey, or Greg Sankey, was the assistant commissioner at the time, and so Greg and I are the only ones left now after Coach is gone. So definitely was strange not having Coach Saban in there. So I think Kirby kind of took over and is kind of the lead now.
What were the main topics of discussion in the coaches' meeting? Was there anything in particular that caused you guys to go 45 minutes longer than you're supposed to?
I think we just got backed up, and I think we, took a lot of time kind of discussing roster numbers, and really that was the first time we were able to be together outside of really group texts, and to kind of bounce different ideas off and things, and also, you know, the education, um, from William King and the commissioner to us about where things were. Um, so as far as the direction that we're headed.
Was
Was
it
it
your
your
out?
sense that the roster limits are coming, that it's just a matter of trying to keep it above 85, or
I don't know that I have a great sense of where that's going. I think tomorrow morning, meetings are going to have a lot to do with that with athletic directors. Um, obviously something's coming, and we'll just adapt to whatever that is. And I feel like we've done a good job at Ole Miss of adapting, to rule changes and different things, whether that's been portal or NIL, or even initially before with rule changes of, you know, offensive play. And so whatever they end up coming up with, we'll just try to make the most out of it.
When you see what happened at Florida with the lawsuit that's going on, and obviously you had to deal with the lawsuit already, how concerned are you about future lawsuits from players in regards to NIL?
I don't know. I don't really know all the details with the Florida situation. So, I just think as things evolve and different things um, come in, I think an issue in general is we have a lot of new changes in college football over the last few years, and um, I understand why some are made, but not necessarily completely thought out, and then things happen that weren't intended initially from them. And I've kind of said before, I think some of them are rushed, and not really have everybody's input to what is probably going to happen when they make the rules, as opposed to these people that make the rules and they just think, okay, well, this is how everybody will follow them. And like I always point back to NIL and what it was intended to be and what they thought it was going to be, and what, I don't know the numbers, but 98% of it is not. It's pay for play. So I just think that there's a lot of evolving things, and that issue, happened there, and so you just got to be aware of it.
But you feel like your NFL background helps you in today's world of college football, with portals like free agency and NILs like salary caps. You've got roster changes, and you're used to dealing with 53-man roster, potential injury reports, right? Does your background in that help you at this moment?
I mean, a little bit. I think that just our approach in general of always trying to, not just think outside the box, but create a new box and take whatever situations come up and let's figure out how to maximize them. And, we don't really do anything just because, we don't accept things as, hey, we're going to do them just because that's what we did 5 years ago. And I think that kind of the offensive question of, where our offense is today compared to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or way back with Sark at USC is very different. And I think that's just how we take the approach with everything, and do a lot of research and a lot of analytics and things, and a lot of studies to try to figure that out. What are the best ways to invest, and best ways to staff, and best ways to manage your roster.
Does it seem similar to an NFL model that we're at this moment?
No, it doesn't, because the NFL has a system. So we don't really have a system, and we don't, have contracts and don't have salary caps, and like all professional sports do. But in some areas we want to be professional sports, but then we don't in these other areas, and then that's why you have the chaos that you have in college football.
Is there anything in particular that you're concerned with as it relates to scholarship numbers? Is it health and injury? Is it being able to bring young players along by having enough practice reps for both for the young players as well as some older players? What is it that is most concerning to you?
Well, I think if it was in the reduction category, I think there's some safety issues there. How do you practice? How do you play? Are the numbers as low as to where you've got to overplay players? Maybe in some games where you hadn't in the past. So there are some very big safety concerns, and the ability to practice well enough to develop young players also, in order to have enough. Because again, this is not, again, we want to be like the NFL some ways, but not other ways. So you want to make these limits, but we don't have practice squads. We don't have the ability, to have players to just bring in each week and try them out, and add players when there's injuries. So it's really complicated.
What's the sentiment you think about injury reports in the football coaches' minds?
We didn't get into that very much. It was in the, I think maybe we're going to tomorrow more. So I'll probably have more information on that for you tomorrow.
What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, it sounds like that's where we're going, and much more like the NFL. Again, we kind of pick and choose which things we want to do like that. So I understand why it is. So I'm all right.
Lane, it's not a fully fleshed out idea, but they are bringing something that kind of looks like a salary cap. Whether the hope is to have something that implements like a salary cap. Do you still feel like having your collective has done good work? It seems like you have good alignment with the folks at your collective and Walker. Do you still envision that being a part of college football going forward if we're also paying players? I know that's a lot because, again, it's not fully fleshed out, but have you given much thought to where your collective fits into all of this?
Yeah, I think, well, that's in the rules that they make. What do they come back with, and what do they say? So a lot of people say, okay, well, this is great. We're going to have this cap and revenue sharing. Okay, but if if you're still going to have collectives, how are you going to have a cap? But then you're also going to have collectives. And then you're also going to have traditional boosters that have always been around in college football, especially the SEC. So are you really going to have a cap? Or does it just sound like a cap? You know, that's a big difference.
Spoke about maybe a way to prevent players from transferring out underneath the NIL era, underneath revenue sharing, was for them, for it to have a buyout in their so-called contract that they sign with a school. Okay, if you leave, you have to pay a certain percentage back to that university and so on. Do you see an avenue for something like that in whatever this new era is going to look like in sports, or even in the NIL collective market?
I mean, I can see that. I think that would be challenging, especially legally, and you're going to start forcing buyouts on kids, and are they employees, and so I think that sounds good, but it's a little complicated in order to do that. But again, we don't really have a system, and I said whatever last summer, and college football in the state that it was in didn't mean anything to do with the play of college football. It just meant all this stuff, and we might be creating more problems here with what we think we're solving. So again, I used to say, hey, we should have contracts with them, but I understand there's a lot of legal issues with that too, as students, because that does make it really challenging. We talk about NFL models, but we don't have contracts, so then they can leave multiple windows a year, and not have 2-3 year contracts. So I don't know that we're going to get that answered.
Is this the best roster you've had?
Yeah, this is definitely the best roster. I don't know that it'll be the best team. There's a lot to be figured out with that, and even some of the significant players we have were out for spring. So we'll have a lot of work to do to bring them together to be the best team. A couple years ago, we won 10 regular season games, and last year won 11 total games, most in school history. So I do think the roster is better than that, but that's a lot of work to do to be a better team.
When you hear the media talking about maybe Ole Miss is set up to win a championship this year, how do you approach that with this team with so much returning? And you guys have just been great in the transfer portal, especially this year.
Yeah, I don't really think about the championship stuff. I mean, there's way more important. That's outcome. There's way more about the process and putting together a roster. And now that the roster basically is done, to go start working with them and get them to gel together, and all the work with some new assistant coaches and all those things, and then worry about that stuff way down the road. So I am very excited about it because we do have a lot of really, not just really good players, but really neat kids. And we really have a really good building of people, and so I really like that. And so now we just got a lot of work to put them together.
Lane, how would you term what you've done to get to this point, besides just going all in on every front?
Meaning exactly?
In the off season, the portal, collectives, everything, recruiting.
Well, I think that we're just always trying to maximize whatever the situation is and the parameters are, and I do think that our collective's done a great job, our donors have done a great job, fans, in order to have that, led by Walker, but and our coaches have done a really good job assembling talent. But I don't think it was really like, okay, here's this, all chips are in for this one season thing. I think we happened to have a lot of really good players that could have went to the NFL come back. We signed a lot of really good portal guys, and so maybe it looks that way, but that was not by design. I think we just won 11 games, so it wasn't one of those like, we're in this tough year. We've had some tough years, and so let's just go all in and try to save our job type thing. I just think it happened to work that way by a lot of steps along the way to get there.
And have you thought about the expanded playoff for programs like Mississippi is almost meeting you in the middle? Like, this is perfect for us. We could do something we've never done before, replicating what you did the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, there's good and bad to everything. That's good because maybe you're in one of those slots that you get in, and you're not in the top 4, but then you got to win a lot more games. So I do think it's really exciting for college football, and to have more teams involved. And as you get closer to it, you know, obviously more than 12, you know, you're whatever week 9, week 10, you know, just kind of makes a lot of people feel like they have a shot. So I think it will be really exciting, you know, to hopefully be a part, but just to watch.
What are you doing, if anything, to help prepare your team to sustain itself through possibly January 20th, maybe 4 extra games, plus a conference championship game as far as nutrition, academics, strength and conditioning, all those things? Have you tweaked anything knowing the season's getting longer?
I have not, whether that's right or wrong. I think that, you know, when you get there, then you worry more about that then. And I know that that's unusual for someone that prepares for everything, but I think you got to get there first, you know. And so um, the most important thing is getting there, and then worry about that then versus, okay, well, we're gonna cut back here or cut back there, and then all of a sudden you don't get there and you fall short because whatever things that you do. So um, I have not thought that way.
Anything else for Coach? All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks.